Christ is what motivates an overseer. But secondly, a recognition of the value of the people of God. How do you view the assembly? Now, I'll speak very honestly, because I'm sure most young men my age are in the same boat as me. There's times when it's very frustrating. There's times when you do your best to prepare and people don't come out. There's times when you try your hardest with some young believers, and despite your best efforts, they still wander away. There's times when you're tempted to throw in the towel and say, what's the point? You know, you can look theoretically at what an assembly is in the Bible, and then you look practically or realistically at your assembly, and you think, well, what is it? You know, one thing I find very, very touching, over and over in the New Testament, it's the church of God that he purchased with his own blood. It's the flock of God in 1 Peter chapter 5. If you go back to the story of David, when David went up to Saul and his brothers were all there fighting, you contrast the attitude of Eliab, David's oldest brother, with the attitude of David relative to the little flock of sheep in the wilderness. This is what Eliab said. Eliab said, with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? Disparaging, careless, just those few sheep in the wilderness. Listen to what David said when he was talking to King Saul. Talking about whether he could go out and fight the giant or not. David said, thy servant was caring for his father's sheep. And a lion came and a bear came. What's my perspective? Are they God's people? Or are they a few sheep in the wilderness? But finally, devotion for an overseer in his work comes from a very solemn sense of accountability. Hebrews chapter 13 tells us they watch for your souls as those that must give account. So I trust that these words will be somewhat encouraging, somewhat challenging. I trust that maybe this consideration will stimulate the desire, the ambition, in a good sense, of some young men to look at your life, think about spiritual activity, recognize that it is a noble thing, it is a worthwhile thing, it is a life-consuming thing, if the Spirit of God calls you to it, to be an active, sensitive, heartfelt overseer to lead the people of God into the next generation.